What if one of the most debated cars Porsche ever built wasn't a mistake at all, but a quiet move that saved the entire brand? For decades, the Porsche Boxster has lived in a strange place, loved by drivers, questioned by purists, and constantly compared to a car it was never meant to replace. But the real story behind the Boxster doesn't start with speed, or price, or even performance. It starts with a moment when Porsche was closer to the edge than most people realize. In the early 1990s, Porsche wasn't the untouchable powerhouse it is today. Sales were shrinking, costs were rising, and the lineup was painfully narrow. The 911 was iconic, but it wasn't enough to keep the company healthy on its own. Porsche needed volume, and more importantly, it needed relevance. The problem was simple but dangerous. How do you expand without destroying your image? Build something too cheap, and the badge loses its meaning. Build something too similar, and nothing changes. Porsche was running out of safe options. That's when a risky idea started to form. Instead of chasing luxury or brute power, Porsche would go back to something purer, lightweight, balanced, driver-focused, a roadster with a mid-engine layout, inspired by older racing philosophies rather than modern excess. On paper, it made sense. In reality, it was a gamble that could have easily backfired. And when the Boxster finally arrived, the reaction proved just how divided the Porsche world really was. Almost immediately, a label stuck, and it stuck hard: the cheap Porsche. For some, that phrase alone was enough to dismiss the car without ever touching the steering wheel. It didn't matter that the Boxster delivered real balance or precise handling. The damage was already done. Being positioned as an entry-level Porsche meant it was judged differently from day one. Not as a car on its own terms, but as a comparison piece. Always measured against the 911. Always seen as the step below. What made this even more ironic was that the Boxster wasn't built with shortcuts in mind. It was built with intent. But perception doesn't care about intent. Traditional fans saw the lower price and assumed compromise. A softer Porsche. A diluted experience. And once that idea spread, it became almost impossible to shake. The Boxster wasn't fighting competitors, it was fighting expectations created by its own badge. But there was one detail that complicated everything, something Porsche didn't promote too loudly at first: the engine placement. While the 911 clung to its rear-engine heritage, the Boxster went mid-engine, balanced, neutral, predictable in the best way possible. For driving enthusiasts, this mattered more than any badge hierarchy. The car felt planted, confident, almost effortless when pushed. And for some drivers, that raised an uncomfortable question. What if this entry-level Porsche was actually doing something better? Inside Porsche, that question wasn't taken lightly. Engineers understood exactly what the layout meant. A mid-engine platform offers advantages that are hard to ignore, especially when handling is the goal. And suddenly, the Boxster wasn't just an affordable Porsche, it was a different kind of Porsche, one that quietly challenged the long-standing formula without ever saying so out loud. That tension never became official, but it was felt. The Boxster had to be good, but not too good. Capable, but not dominant. Because if it crossed an invisible line, it wouldn't just change the market, it would change Porsche's internal balance. And that's where things started to get complicated. Because once a car proves it can do more than expected, the question isn't whether people notice, it's how long the brand can pretend nothing is happening. And that's where the real controversy around the Boxster began to grow. Away from marketing slogans, away from spec sheets, and deep inside the minds of Porsche fans who started to wonder whether the hierarchy they believed in was ever as solid as they thought. But that wasn't the whole story. Once the Boxster proved it could handle more than expected, a quiet theory began spreading through forums and late-night car conversations. Not officially confirmed, never written down, but repeated enough that it refused to disappear. The idea was simple and a little uncomfortable. The Boxster wasn't being allowed to reach its full potential. Fans started pointing to small details, power figures that felt conservative, performance gaps that always seemed carefully measured, upgrades that arrived slowly, almost cautiously. The belief was that Porsche had drawn an invisible line, making sure the Boxster stayed quick, but never threatening, not because it couldn't go further, but because it wasn't supposed to. Whether true or not, the theory stuck. And once people believe a car is being held back, every decision starts to look suspicious. And then the conversation took another turn. Online discussions shifted away from performance and toward fear. Reliability worries began circulating, often amplified by secondhand stories and worst-case scenarios, the kind that spread faster than facts ever could. A few early issues were enough to spark panic, and suddenly the Boxster's reputation wasn't just about hierarchy, it was about trust. Some people started treating the car like a ticking time bomb, while others pushed back, arguing that the internet had blown everything out of proportion. The reality sat somewhere in between. Certain problems existed, but perception grew far larger than numbers ever justified. What mattered more was how quickly fear reshaped the narrative. A car once criticized for being too soft was now being questioned for being too risky. And in the age of forums and comment sections, reputation doesn't fade quietly, it multiplies. But here's the part many people missed while the panic was peaking. Porsche didn't abandon the Boxster, they refined it, generation after generation. The car became tighter, sharper, more confident in its identity. Build quality improved, driving feel matured, design language evolved. Without making a big announcement, Porsche was quietly earning back trust from the people who actually drove the car, not just talked about it. And slowly, opinions began to shift. Drivers started noticing something that had always been there: the balance, the feedback, the way the Boxster connected road to steering wheel without trying to impress anyone. It wasn't chasing the 911 anymore. It didn't need to. The Boxster was becoming its own thing, and for many, that made it more appealing than ever. Then the future entered the conversation and divided everyone all over again. Rumors of electrification began circulating, not as a confirmed plan, but as a possibility that felt inevitable. For some fans, this was the final line, a step too far. Others argued that the Boxster's soul was never about the engine alone, but about balance and driving purity. The same arguments resurfaced, just in a new form. What defines a real Porsche? Tradition or evolution? And that question is exactly why the Boxster still sparks debate today. It never fit neatly into expectations. It challenged the badge without asking permission. It survived criticism, panic, and shifting trends, only to come out stronger and more confident than before. The uncomfortable truth is this: the Boxster didn't fail at being a Porsche. It succeeded in a way people weren't ready to accept. And maybe that's why it remains one of the most misunderstood cars Porsche has ever built. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow and keeps more content like this coming.